With the release of Avatar 2, we now have 9 James Cameron movies. So let's rank them. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good one today. I'm the movie ranker, and today I'm going to be ranking all 9 James Cameron movies from worst to best. You know, we just got Avatar 2 out, which is a huge hit in the box office at least. So I figured what better time to rank these films. Quick shout out to Ledger Forever, a new and upcoming YouTuber who, has a pretty low subscriber count, so I figured I would promote him a little bit on here, maybe get a few views to go check out his channel. He does rankings just like me, so if you're interested, go check him out. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description. But without wasting any more time, let's get into this ranking. So easily coming in the last place is Piranha 2: The Spawning. You gotta start somewhere. Man, what a terrible, terrible movie about these genetically altered piranha that happen to fly around like butterflies and can breathe out of water and attack people, and it looks completely ridiculous. The worst part is you got this really crazy premise and they don't have fun with it. They do it super serious, and it just, like I said, it drains all the fun that you could be had with this B movie. The effects are bad. The underwater scenes don't look great at all, which Cameron masters nowadays. You know, it's a garbage movie that I'll never watch again. Up next at number 8, we got The Abyss. Now this is a huge step up from Piranha 2. We're already in the good section of movies. So this one's a whole lot of fun. It was a first time watch for me, and I feel like this is one of Cameron's lesser known films about these creatures underwater that cause these disruptions and power failures, causing like subs to lose power and whatnot. Of course, they don't know that it's creatures causing this, so they blame the Russians. Eventually, they send a team of oil riggers and soldiers underneath the surface to investigate. I was really hoping we would spend more time with these creatures, but after they're introduced, they're basically put on the back burner and we deal more with our characters' survival. They're losing oxygen underwater, they're flooding, a lot of bad shit is happening. The soldiers turn on them. The head soldier goes rogue, played by Michael Biehn, and it's really cool to see him as a villain. He's always like a hero in most movies I watch, but he plays the villain really good. We also got Ed Harris in here, Mary Elizabeth, a lot of good actresses and actors. And there are 2 main leads, Ed Harris and Mary Elizabeth. Virgil and Lindsay is their names. And it's interesting to watch their chemistry because they have to work together, but they're dealing with their broken marriage at the same time. And I thought that just adds so much more to the film. All the underwater scenes are shot beautifully. I love how claustrophobic things get once they start running out of air and stuff down there and fighting amongst each other. And it's just a great time. It has a few pacing issues, keeping this movie from being as rewatchable as maybe some of the other James Cameron's films, but it's a great film nonetheless. Coming up next at number 7, we got Avatar 2: The Way of Water. The newest film in Cameron's filmography, which took him a hell of a long time to make, just like the first Avatar movie. Was it worth the wait? Yes and no. For starters, the graphics look phenomenal, just like the first film. This one breaks the barriers of CGI again and reinvents the wheel. There's some water scenes that look so freaking realistic and fantastic. Even though this whole world is made up, you feel like this could be a real place. And the way this movie opens is action-packed for the first 45 minutes. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, holy shit, this is easily gonna beat the first Avatar movie. But then you get an hour and 20 minutes in the middle of the film that kind of drags on. Not a whole lot happens to advance the plot. We just get our characters meeting this new group, this new tribe, the water people, and they're just kind of hanging out with them, learning their ways and that. So the movie kind of drags a bit until we pick it back up into the final act. I know a lot of people were saying that it was lazy to bring back the same bad guy as the first movie after he died at the end of the first movie, but I'm like, the way they do it, it's very clever. Just because you hear nitpicks in that online, go in with a fresh mind on your own and just watch the movie, see what you think. Because I thought they did an excellent job with the villain. And it's always fun to return to Pandora. Maybe the movie wasn't quite worth the long wait we got, but it's still a good movie nonetheless. Up next at number 6, we got True Lies. Now, this is another fun, over the top action flick with lots of comedy sprinkled in thanks to Tom Arnold. He's a great supporting character in here. Arnold, of course, he's always our tough guy. But this time, he's living a secret life as a crazy ass spy. But when he goes home, he's just a salesman married to Jamie Lee Curtis. And I think that's the more interesting side of this movie is the drama with the family and how he suspects his wife and having an affair and all this stuff. I find that's more interesting than the actual plot about these terrorists. And I think this is a great movie that could have been even greater, hear me out, if the movie would have been shown through the eyes of Jamie Lee Curtis's character, the wife. Imagine not knowing that Arnold is a spy till like halfway through the movie, till the whole striptease scenario. It would have been like a whole twist on another twist, and she would have also thought that Bill Paxton was actually a spy who was really a car salesman, and he brings a lot of laughs to the movie too. And I just think that would have really elevated this movie to the top of my Cameron's list. But it's still fun nonetheless. It's a little too over the top at times. Feels like it's almost a satire on the spy genre, the way he's like shooting missiles through holes in buildings and hitting helicopters on the other side and stuff. It's hilarious, but it's super cheesy. It kind of feels like it's an 80s film, but it's in the 90s. But I still have a whole lot of fun with it. I just want to wrap this one up by saying Jamie Lee Curtis gives one hell of a performance of her career, if you ask me, and she stands above everybody else in this film. Up next at number 5, we have Avatar, the original, from 2009, I believe. This one has great world building, creating this world, Pandora, and how they created a way to get in there using the avatars and all that. It's all super clever how they can connect. The aliens can connect to like different animals and that and bond together. I thought that's really clever as well. On a story level, like the creating of this world is genius. But when you're getting into the actual storytelling, it's a little familiar. It's like Pocahontas or Dancing with Wolves, when an outsider goes into a tribe. We've seen this story many times before, but they do put their own twist on it here. Of course, like all Cameron movies, we got a stellar cast with Sam Worthington, Sigourney Weaver, Michelle Rodriguez, friggin' Stephen Lang as our villain. He plays a perfect villain in this and in part 2. The graphics are out of this world at the time. Other movies have caught up to this one, but at the time, nothing else looked this crisp and this good, especially in theaters. Again, one of my only nitpicks is I find in the middle it drags a bit, just like part 2. Not as bad as part 2, but still, when Jake Sully is learning the ways of the tribe and trying to become a member and learning how to hunt and all this stuff, it lasts a little long for me, but overall, another great film. All right, now we're getting into our heavy hitters. Any one of these top 4 movies could be at the top of anybody's list, and it would be perfectly fine because they're all masterpieces in my mind. And it really just goes by preference here. At number 4, you guys might be shocked, but I'm going with Aliens. I know a lot of people really love this movie, and I do too. I'm partial to part 1 though, which is more horror, and this one's more action themed. I feel like Cameron did with the Aliens, it's the same as what he did with Terminator. He took the first one and made the second one like this big epic blockbuster, and the same can be said for Aliens. It's great to see Sigourney Weaver back as Ripley, and she really kicks ass in this one. One of the best final girls of all time, and a great mother figure to Newt, who she protects throughout this entire film. And we get that connection that she lost with her own daughter now that she can have with Newt. And it's cool to see all the parallels between the motherhood with her and with the queen alien, with all of her eggs and that. There's a lot of comparisons there. Great action, more aliens, more carnage, sending all these soldiers. Of course, we get a great cast again. We got Bill Paxton again. He's in so many of these movies, but he's great in all of them. You know, the whole army crew is awesome. Lance Hendrickson as the AI. Um, just a great movie with great cinematography as well. Like that one shot with the alien coming out of the water behind Newt and swinging its tail. It's crazy to think that that's all practical in the 80s. It looks friggin' phenomenal. Up next at number 3, we got Titanic. Oh, I am absolutely in love with this movie. I've seen it at a very young age when it came out, and I've been watching it ever since. I know a lot of people don't really like the whole drama side of things, the romance side of the story. I really enjoy it, but the big seller for me is the Titanic itself and the sinking, the big tragedy at the end. And it's funny, you know it's going to happen right at the start of the movie. You could have never seen this movie before, but you know the outcome. But the journey getting there is just so intense and captivating to me and emotional at times, especially near the end when you got like not I'm not talking about Jack and Rose on the board. I'm talking more like the people having to put like falling off the ship, the one lady putting her kids to sleep basically to die, and all the dead bodies floating in the ice water, like especially infants. You're like, wow, this is crazy and hard to believe that it actually happened in real life. What a terrible tragedy. But I'm a huge fan of maritime disasters. I'm not a fan, but I love to research it and look it up. You know, it's like a hobby. So I think that's why this movie hits a little harder for me than a lot of people. But yeah, it's just a hell of a time. And the things he was able to do, like to make this ship look real with his set pieces and that is this out of this world. I mean, the set pieces were big, but they weren't big like the Titanic. But he makes it seem so real when you're watching the film itself. And yeah, it's just a movie that makes me feel almost every emotion available. And I love that. Up next at number 2, we got Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Now, if you've seen my Terminator ranking, you would have already known I have this at number 2 and the original at number 1. They're both 10 out of 10 films. This is the best sequel ever made, in my opinion. It just goes by preference for why my top movies in this ranking place for where they do. But yeah, T2 so good. They take away a little bit of the horror elements and replace it with comedic elements, but it works, man. Who would have thought? John Connor is a badass little teenager, and you know his bond that he forms with the T800 is pretty cool. I love how he's teaching him all these phrases and that. And by the end, the T800 actually is like a father figure to John, which is so crazy because he's only a machine, but he was there for him where he didn't really have a father. And all that is great writing. You got Sarah Connor coming back in this one like a freaking soldier. She is like the new Kyle Reese. She's a complete badass. A little loony, but freaking cool and badass, man. She slowly was becoming this character in the first movie, but in this one we get to see the full gist of it. The T-1000, one of the greatest villains of all time, liquid metal. How do you beat that? And the graphics for 1991 was out of this world. I'm still shocked every time I watch this movie going, this came out when I was born in 91. Like, that is just crazy. But in first place, at number 1, we have The Terminator, the original from 1984. Cameron's first big movie that wasn't Piranha 2. I absolutely love this movie. One of my favorite movies of all time. I believe this is number 2 or 3. And yeah, so freaking good, man. It's gritty. It's dark. It feels like something that all the other sequels failed to do is make this like really neo noir, like almost horror type film. The T-800 is ruthless and he's just unstoppable right up to the final act where he's just machine, you know, coming at Sarah Connor. And that's where you really start to see the horror elements in here. The story itself is so good, and I like how it's told. Like, we get a lot of our exposition in that from Kyle Reese while the story's still moving forward. He's driving a car, trying to get away, explaining to Sarah everything that's going down. And he's so genuine with his delivery. You really believe him. Played by Michael Biehn. And this is his best performance by far. And he should have been a huge actor after this. It's unfortunate he didn't get a whole lot of big roles after the 80s. Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor is perfectly casted as this waitress who, you know, seems to be going nowhere in life to becoming the savior of humanity. The whole time travel aspect is fantastic. I'm a big fan of time travel movies, and this one has that perfect loop. I feel like with no mistakes, no holes, especially if you're just talking about this first film. It's just genius. And to think that Cameron came up with this partly due to a nightmare he had. And Arnold just really embodies the T-800. I mean, he's not the most charismatic actor out there, so he can play this machine pretty damn well. Just in his movements and mannerisms and that, he nails it. The whole cop shootout scene at the cop station is friggin' awesome. And you get that crazy line, "I'll be back," you know, so iconic. Everything about this movie just works for me. Even the stop motion near the end could be off-putting for some people or feel outdated, much like the effects when he's fixing his eye. But to me, it just all works. There's nothing wrong with this movie. I can't even nitpick it. It's 100% perfect, and it easily is my #1 James Cameron movie of all time. So there you have it, guys. There's my ranking of all 9 James Cameron movies. I hope you enjoyed it. You know, most of his movies are really iconic or just staples of their time, you know, where we can look back and really learn. He's just amazing, and plus he is Canadian, which is even better for me. I love to shout out to all the Canadians out there in the acting and directing biz, because it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of us compared to some of these other countries. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what your favorite James Cameron movie is down in the comment section, or give me your ranking. I would love to hear it. And until next time, guys, thanks for watching.